You have heard these stories before. Maybe as a child in a quiet classroom with a felt board and a kind voice. Maybe you have heard them so many times that they have gone flat, the way a song you love too much eventually stops surprising you. But here is something most people never realize. The stories in the Bible were not written to be simple. They were written to be layered. On the surface, a children's tale. Underneath, a question that can take a lifetime to answer. The people who first told these stories were not trying to give you facts to memorize. They were trying to hand you a mirror. Today, we are going to walk through 23 of them. And for each one, we are going to look past the surface to the meaning hiding underneath. Some of these will make you smile. A few of them might unsettle you. And one or two, if you really sit with them, might change the way you see your own life. So get comfortable. Let us begin. Number 1. In the beginning. Everyone knows how the Bible opens. A formless dark, and then a voice that says, "Let there be light." But here is the detail almost no one notices. The light is created on the first day. The sun, the moon, the stars, they do not appear until the fourth. So where did that first light come from? 3 days before there was a sun. The ancient writers were not confused. They were telling you something. The very first act of creation was not making things. It was separating things. Light from dark. Order from chaos. Day from night. The deeper meaning is quiet, but enormous. Before anything beautiful can exist, something has to be divided, named, and put in its place. Creation is not the opposite of chaos. It is what you build out of it. Number 2, the garden and the fruit. We tend to remember this as the story of a rule broken and a punishment given. A man, a woman, a forbidden tree, a serpent. But look closer at what actually changes. Before they eat, the two of them are naked and feel no shame. After they eat, the very first thing they do is cover themselves and hide. The fruit did not give them evil. It gave them self-awareness. The knowledge of good and evil is the moment a human being looks at themselves and judges what they see. The deeper meaning is almost painfully human. Innocence is not knowing you are exposed. Growing up is the moment you suddenly do. We have all eaten from that tree. We all remember the day we first felt ashamed of being ourselves. Number 3. 2 brothers, 1 altar. Cain and Abel. The first children ever born, and one of them murders the other over an offering. It is easy to read this as a story about jealousy, and it is. But there is a line in it that is one of the most chilling sentences in all of Scripture. Before the murder, God warns Cain that sin is crouching at his door like an animal waiting, and that he must master it. Sin is described not as a sudden act, but as a living thing, patient, lying in wait. The deeper meaning is that the worst things we do are rarely impulses. They are appetites we fed, resentments we let grow, doors we left open. And when God asks where Abel is, Cain gives the answer that humanity has been repeating ever since. Am I my brother's keeper? The whole rest of the Bible is, in a way, one long answer to that question. Yes, you are. Number 4, the flood and the boat. A world gone wrong, a great flood, 1 family in a wooden ark, and animals 2 by 2. We turn it into nursery wallpaper. But the heart of this story is not the destruction. It is the remnant. When everything is washed away, 1 small, fragile group is preserved to begin again. And when it is over, the sign God gives is a rainbow. Notice what a rainbow actually is. It is a war bow, the kind you fire arrows from, turned upward, pointed away from the earth. The deeper meaning is a promise. The weapon is hung up. The anger is spent. After every flood in your life, watch for the moment the sky stops being a threat and becomes a promise instead. Number 5, the tower that touched the sky. The people of Babel decide to build a tower up to the heavens to make a name for themselves, and God scatters them, confusing their language so they cannot understand one another. On the surface, it sounds like jealousy, as if God felt threatened. But read why they built it. To make a name for ourselves, they say, so that we will not be scattered. They were not reaching for God, they were reaching for control, for permanence, for the security of never having to depend on anyone. Sometimes, our greatest cooperation is in service of our greatest pride. Unity is not always good. It depends entirely on what you are united around. Number 6. A father, a son, and a knife. This is one of the hardest stories in the Bible. Abraham is asked to sacrifice his own son, Isaac, the child he waited a lifetime for. He takes him up the mountain, he raises the knife, and at the last possible second, a voice stops him, and a ram is found, caught in a thicket to take the boy's place. People argue about this story endlessly, and they should, but notice the name Abraham gives that place. The Lord will provide. The deeper meaning is not about whether the test was fair, it is about a substitute appearing at the exact moment all hope was gone. Something else dies, so the beloved does not have to. That image of a substitute provided at the last second echoes through the entire rest of the book. Number 7. The stairway between worlds. Jacob is a liar and a cheat. He has just stolen his brother's blessing and is running for his life. He lies down in the wilderness with a stone for a pillow, and he dreams of a stairway reaching from earth all the way to heaven, with angels going up and coming down. Here is the part that stops you. God meets him there, not after he has fixed himself, not after he has apologized. In the middle of his running, at his lowest and most dishonest, heaven opens over his head. The deeper meaning is grace at its strangest. The ladder comes down to the man who least deserves it, in the place he least expected it. Sometimes the holiest moment of your life finds you when you are sleeping rough and running away. Number 8. Wrestling in the dark. Years later, that same Jacob is alone by a river at night, and a mysterious stranger wrestles with him until dawn. They struggle for hours. Jacob will not let go. Finally, the stranger touches his hip and wounds him, but still Jacob holds on and demands a blessing. And he gets one, a new name, Israel, which means one who wrestles with God. Think about that. His identity, his entire nation's name, comes not from a moment of peaceful prayer, but from a fight he refused to quit. The deeper meaning is that faith is not always serene. Sometimes, faith looks like grappling in the dark with something you cannot name, refusing to let go until it blesses you. And Jacob walks away changed, with a limp he will carry for the rest of his life. Some encounters leave a mark. That is how you know they were real. Number 9. The coat and the pit. Joseph is his father's favorite, given a beautiful coat, and his brothers hate him for it. They throw him in a pit and sell him into slavery. Over many years, he rises, falls, is imprisoned, and finally becomes second in command of all Egypt. And then a famine drives those same brothers to come begging for food, not knowing the powerful man in front of them is the boy they betrayed. He could destroy them. Instead, he weeps and he forgives, and he says the line that holds the whole story together. You intended to harm me, but it was turned to good. The deeper meaning is one of the most powerful ideas in all of Scripture. The same event can be both a betrayal and a rescue, depending on how far back you are standing. The pit your brothers threw you into might be the road to the place you were always meant to be. Number 10. The bush that burned and was not consumed. Moses is an old fugitive tending sheep in the desert, his great deeds long behind him, when he sees a bush on fire that does not burn up. He turns aside to look, and a voice tells him to take off his sandals, because the ground he is standing on is holy. When Moses asks who is sending him, the voice gives a name that is barely a name at all. I am who I am. The deeper meaning lives in two places. First, holy ground was just ordinary desert until Moses paid attention to it. Holiness is often a matter of turning aside to notice. And second, the God who calls him does not define himself by the past or the future, but by pure presence. I am. Not I was, not I will be. I am right now with you. Number 11. The Night of the Lamb. Israel is enslaved in Egypt, and the final plague is coming. Each family is told to mark their doorposts with the blood of a lamb, so that death will pass over their home. That night they eat in a hurry, sandals on, bags packed, ready to run at a moment's notice. We focus on the rescue, and we should. But notice the posture. They eat their freedom meal standing up, dressed to leave. The deeper meaning is that liberation is not comfortable. To be set free, they had to be willing to walk out the door that very night, leaving behind everything familiar, even the misery they knew. Freedom always asks you to leave something. The hardest chains to break are sometimes the ones you have grown used to. Number 12. The Mountain and the Law. After the escape, the people gather at a mountain wrapped in smoke and thunder, and they are given the commandments etched in stone. We tend to picture law as a cage, a list of things you cannot do, a finger wagging from the sky. But look at the order. They are rescued first, then given the law. The rules come after the rescue, not before it. The deeper meaning flips everything. Boundaries are not the opposite of freedom. A river with no banks is just a swamp. The banks are what let it run somewhere. Number 13. The Boy and the Giant. David and Goliath. A shepherd boy with a sling defeats a towering warrior. It is the story we reach for whenever the underdog wins. But everyone in that valley made the same mistake, including Goliath. They all assumed the giant's size was an advantage. David saw something they could not. A giant in heavy armor is slow. A man who relies on brute strength has no answer for speed and distance and a stone moving faster than he can react. David did not win in spite of being small. He won because he refused to fight on the giant's terms. The deeper meaning is that the thing everyone fears is often carrying a weakness no one is looking at. The battle was decided not by the stone, but by which man understood the situation. Sometimes the giant was beatable all along, and the only real obstacle was that everyone agreed he was not. Number 14. The King on the Roof. David, now a great king, sees a woman bathing, Bathsheba, and takes her, though she is married. When she becomes pregnant, he arranges for her husband to die in battle to cover it up. The man after God's own heart becomes a liar and a killer to protect his image. Then the prophet Nathan comes and tells him a story about a rich man who steals a poor man's only lamb. David burns with anger at the injustice, demands the rich man be punished, and Nathan says 4 words that crack him open. You are the man. The deeper meaning is devastatingly honest. It is so easy to be outraged at someone else's sin and blind to the very same thing in ourselves. We are all capable of condemning in others the exact crime we are committing. Number 15. 2 mothers, 1 child. 2 women come to King Solomon, both claiming to be the mother of the same baby. There is no proof either way, so Solomon proposes to cut the child in half and give each woman a piece. 1 woman agrees. The other cries out, "No, give the baby to her, just let him live." And Solomon knows instantly the real mother is the one willing to lose her son rather than see him harmed. The deeper meaning is a definition of love so sharp it could be a blade. Real love would rather give the thing up than destroy it. The truest sign of love is what you are willing to lose for the sake of the one you love. Number 16. The man who lost everything. Job is a good man who loses his children, his wealth, and his health all in a matter of days for no reason he can see. His friends insist he must have done something to deserve it, because surely suffering is always earned. Job refuses to accept that lie, and he demands an answer from God, and when God finally speaks, he does not give one. Instead, he asks Job question after question about the vastness of creation, the storehouses of the snow, the wild things that live where no human ever goes. The deeper meaning is harder than any neat answer. Job never learns why he suffered. What he gets instead is presence and a glimpse of a world far larger than his pain. Sometimes the comfort is not an explanation. Sometimes it is simply no longer being alone in the dark. Number 17. The man inside the fish. Jonah is told to go warn the wicked city of Nineveh, and he runs the opposite direction, gets thrown overboard in a storm, and is swallowed by a great fish. We stop the story there, at the fish, because it is strange and memorable. But the fish is not the point. The fish is barely the halfway mark. The real story is what happens after. Jonah finally goes. The city repents. God spares it. And Jonah is furious. He wanted those people destroyed. He sulks because his enemies received mercy. The deeper meaning is one almost no one remembers. Jonah did not run because he was afraid of failing. He ran because he was afraid of succeeding, afraid that God would forgive the people he hated. The book ends on a question. God asks Jonah and never answers, leaving it hanging for the reader. Should I not have compassion on them? The story is really asking you. Number 18. The Den of Lions. Daniel is a man of total integrity, serving in a foreign kingdom when a law is passed that no one may pray to anyone but the king. Daniel keeps praying anyway, openly, at his window, 3 times a day, exactly as he always has. He is thrown to the lions for it and survives the night unharmed. We celebrate the rescue. But the deeper meaning is in what Daniel did before any rescue was promised. He did not change his life to avoid the den. He prayed at the window, in plain sight, knowing the cost. The point is not that faith always gets you out of trouble. It is that real integrity does not depend on being rescued. Daniel decided who he was going to be before he knew how the story would end. Number 19. The son who came home. A young man demands his inheritance early, which is essentially telling his father he wishes he were dead. He takes the money, wastes it all, and ends up feeding pigs, so hungry he envies their food. He decides to crawl home and beg to be a servant. But while he is still far off, his father sees him and runs and throws a feast. Most people stop there with the warm welcome. But the story does not end with the lost son. It ends with the older brother, the one who stayed and did everything right, standing outside the party, refusing to come in, bitter that his wasteful brother is being celebrated. The deeper meaning is the twist. The story is not really about the son who ran away. It is about the one who stayed home and still missed the heart of his father entirely. Grace offends the dutiful. It is possible to do everything right and still stand outside the joy, arms crossed, because you believed love was something you earned. Number 20. 2 respectable religious men pass by and cross to the other side. Then a third man stops, a Samaritan, a member of a despised group, the last person the audience would expect. He bandages the wounds, carries the man to safety, and pays for his care. The man asking the question wanted to know, who counts as my neighbor, so I know who I am obligated to love? But the story refuses to answer that. Instead, it flips the question entirely. The point is not figuring out who deserves your compassion. The point is becoming the kind of person who stops. The deeper meaning is that the hero is the one the listeners had been taught to hate, and the people who should have helped were too important, too busy, too clean to get involved. Number 21. In the heat of the day, a woman comes alone to a well, avoiding the crowd because of her reputation. There she meets a tired traveler who asks her for a drink. In that culture, he should not even be speaking to her. Yet he does, and he offers her something he calls living water, a thirst that is finally satisfied. What is remarkable is who he chose. Not a priest, not a respectable elder, but an outsider with a complicated past, a woman the town whispered about. And she becomes the first person in that whole region to go and tell everyone what she found. The deeper meaning is that dignity is given, not earned. The conversation alone, the simple act of being truly seen and spoken to as a person, was the miracle before a single thing about her circumstances had changed. Number 22, the shortest verse. When Jesus hears that his friend Lazarus has died, he goes to the tomb. He has the power to raise him, and he knows he is about to. And yet standing there, surrounded by weeping sisters, he does something that has puzzled readers for 2,000 years. He weeps. Think about that. He knows the happy ending. The resurrection is moments away. And still, he cries. The deeper meaning is one of the most tender ideas in all of Scripture. He does not rush past the grief just because he could fix it. He enters it first. He sits in the sorrow with the people he loves before he undoes it. There is a profound comfort in that. Your tears are not skipped over just because a better day is coming. They are honored. Even the one who could fix everything stopped first to cry. Number 23. The stone that was rolled away. And so we come to the end, which is really a beginning. A teacher executed as a criminal, his followers scattered and terrified, his body sealed in a borrowed tomb behind a massive stone. By every measure the world understands, it was over. Failure, defeat, the end of a movement. And then, on the third day, the stone is found rolled away, and the tomb is empty. The deeper meaning is the one that holds all the others together. The cross, an instrument of shame and death, became the most recognized symbol of hope in human history. The deeper pattern running through every story we have told today is right here. The pit becomes the throne. The wound becomes the name. What looks like the end is so often the seed of the beginning. That is the secret these stories have been keeping all along. They are not really about people who lived long ago. They are about you. The shame in the garden, the brother standing outside the party, the giant in the valley, the long night of wrestling, the stone that has not rolled away yet. You are somewhere in these stories right now. So, which one were you? Tell me in the comments. I read every single one, and I am genuinely curious which of these 23 hit closest to home for you. If this gave you something to think about, do me a favor and hit that like button. It helps these stories reach more people. Subscribe and turn on the bell, because next time we are going deeper into just one of these, slowly, the way it deserves. Until then, take care of yourself, keep asking the harder questions, and I will see you in the next one.